The judge froze when he saw me walk into his courtroom, his gavel suspended midair, eyes widening behind wire-rimmed glasses as recognition dawned across his weathered face. "Mrs. Eleanor," he whispered, barely audible from the bench. I straightened my shoulders, gripping my cane with trembling hands, the same hands that had once bandaged his scraped knee when he was just Tommy Morrison, the neighborhood boy who'd crashed his bike in front of my house 35 years ago. Now he was Judge Thomas Morrison, and he was about to hear how my own children had tried to destroy me. "Your Honor," my lawyer, Patricia Chen, spoke firmly beside me. "We're ready to present evidence in the case of Eleanor Hartwell versus Michael and Jennifer Hartwell." My son Michael sat at the defendant's table, his expensive suit unable to hide the guilt radiating from his slumped shoulders. But it was my daughter Jennifer who made my heart crack. 8 months pregnant, tears streaming down her face, caught between the husband whispering harshly in her ear and the mother she'd conspired to rob. How did we get here? I wondered, clutching the manila envelope that held the power to destroy them all. 6 months earlier, my life had been beautifully ordinary. Every morning at 6:30, I'd wake in the same bed I'd shared with Harold for 32 years, though he'd been gone for 3 now. My first stop was always the kitchen, where I'd make coffee in a chipped blue mug he'd given me our 10th anniversary. "It's not perfect," he'd said then, running his thumb over the small chip on the rim. "But it's ours." The house at 42 Maple Street was grand, just a modest 3-bedroom colonial we'd bought in 1978. But every corner held memories. The kitchen table where I'd helped with homework for decades. The garden where Harold taught the kids to plant tomatoes. The living room where we'd hosted 43 Christmas mornings. I'd given up my nursing career when Michael was born. "We'll make it work on one income," Harold had promised. And we did, scrimping, saving, clipping coupons. I made Halloween costumes from scratch, packed lunches with notes tucked inside. Never missed a school play or soccer game. When Jennifer needed braces, I took overnight shifts at the hospital. When Michael wanted to attend that expensive computer camp, I sold my grandmother's pearl necklace. "You sacrificed too much, Ellie," my sister Margaret would say during our weekly phone calls. "It's not sacrifice when it's for love," I'd always reply, watching my children succeed, believing that someday they'd understand everything I'd done. The irony wasn't lost on me now. Sitting in this courtroom, all those years of putting them first, and they'd repaid me by trying to put me in a nursing home and still my house. Harold's photograph sat on my nightstand, his gentle smile frozen in time. Sometimes I'd talk to it, especially on the hard days. "I miss you," I'd whisper. "You'd know how to fix this." But Harold was gone, and I was alone when the vultures began to circle. It started with small things, Michael visiting more often, but always with questions about my finances. "Just making sure you're okay, Mom," he'd say, eyeing the bank statements I kept in Harold's old desk. Jennifer began suggesting I was becoming forgetful. "You told me that story yesterday, Mom," she'd say gently, even when I knew I hadn't. "Maybe we should see a doctor." The day everything shattered was a Tuesday. I'd come home early from my volunteer shift at the library with a migraine. Michael's car was in the driveway, odd, since he should have been at work. I entered through the back door, and voices drifted from Harold's study. "Power of attorney is almost ready. Once she signs it, we can move forward with the sale." My blood turned to ice. That was Michael's voice. "I still think we should wait," Jennifer said, sounding uncertain. "What if she finds out?" "She won't," a third voice. Jennifer's husband, Robert. "Your mother's getting worse. Yesterday she couldn't even remember my name. I'd called him Richard instead of Robert, once, as a joke. The house is worth at least $800,000 in this market," Michael continued. "Split between us. That's enough to cover my business debts and your IVF treatments." IVF treatments. Jennifer hadn't told me they were trying for a baby. "Plus, Sunny Acres is nice," Robert added. She'll have activities, people her age. It's not like we're abandoning her. My hand flew to my mouth, stifling a gasp. Sunny Acres. The nursing home on Route 9 where Harold's cousin had withered away, forgotten and alone. I've already talked to a realtor, Michael said. Once we have power of attorney, we can list it. Mom's too stubborn to sell. But this is for her own good. The paperwork from the lawyer should be ready tomorrow, Robert said. We'll tell her it's just routine medical forms. I backed away silently, my heart hammering. In the kitchen, I grubbed the counter, Harold's chipped mug mocking me with its presence. It's not perfect, but it's ours. But what I found next changed everything. That night, I couldn't sleep. Their words echoed in my mind as I paced the bedroom, fury and heartbreak warring in my chest. At 3 a.m., I found myself in Harold's study, searching for something, anything, that might help me. Harold had always been meticulous with paperwork. His filing cabinet stood like a sentinel in the corner, locked since his death. I'd never had the heart to go through it all. No, with shaking fingers, I found the key hidden in his desk drawer, exactly where he'd always kept it. The folders were labeled in his neat handwriting: insurance, medical, investments, house. But behind them all, pushed to the very back, was one labeled simply Frelly. Inside was an envelope with my name written across it, and below that, to be opened only in case of emergency. This qualifies, I thought grimly, tearing it open. My dearest Ellie, the letter began in Harold's careful script. If you're reading this, then I'm gone and you're facing something difficult alone. I'm sorry I'm not there to protect you. Tears blurred my vision as I continued reading. There are things I never told you, not out of deception, but because you never cared about money. You cared about our family, our life together. But I was not just a high school math teacher, my love. The patents from my engineering work before we met. The investments I made quietly over the years, they've grown substantially. The lawyer's face went pale when he saw the attached documents the next morning. Mrs. Hartwell, Patricia Chen said slowly, examining the papers in her downtown office. This trust fund, your husband set it up perfectly, to $1 million, all in your name. Completely separate from the house and inaccessible to anyone but you. To million, I sank into the chair, Harold's letter clutched in my hands. There's more, Patricia continued. This document here, it's brilliant. Your husband anticipated someone might try to manipulate you regarding the house. He set up a legal provision that any sale of the property requires verification from 3 independent parties, including me. I was his student. You see, he tutored me in calculus when I was struggling in high school, changed my life. Hidden for 20 years, this document would save me. Can they still force me into a nursing home? I asked. Patricia's smile was sharp. They can try. But with this evidence of your husband's careful planning and your obvious mental competence, plus the recording you made of their conversation, recording? She pointed to my phone. You did record them, didn't you? When you overheard them plotting? I hadn't, but I thought of the security system Harold had installed 2 years before his death for peace of mind. He'd said, the cameras he'd placed in his study, I might have something better. I said, Chapter 5, the confrontation. I invited them for Sunday dinner. Just like always, Jennifer arrived first, her pregnancy showing beautifully under her floral dress. Mom, you look tired, she said, kissing my cheek. Have you been taking your medications? All of them, dear, I replied, noting how her eyes immediately went to the pill organizer on the counter, the one I defilled with vitamins, keeping my actual medications locked in my bedroom. Michael came next, briefcase in hand, brought some papers for you to look at. Mom, just some medical stuff. You know, in case of emergencies. How thoughtful, I said. Serving Harold's favorite pot roast, we ate in tense silence. The weight of unspoken schemes heavy in the air. Finally, over dessert, Michael cleared his throat. Mom, We need to talk about your future. Oh, I folded my hands calmly. What about it? You're getting older, Jennifer said gently. This house is too big for one person. The stairs, the maintenance, we've found a lovely place. Robert interrupted, earning a sharp look from Jennifer. Sunny Acres? They have an opening next month. And the house? I asked innocently. Michael shifted. Well, the sale would cover your care and your debts. I finished. The silence was deafening. My daughter's next words shattered me. Mom, it's for your own good. You're becoming forgetful, confused. Last week you called Robert by the wrong name. You leave the stove on. You're not safe here alone. Interesting, I said, pulling out my phone. Let's see what you really think. The security footage played crystal clear on my phone screen. Their voices filled the dining room. Every scheming word, every calculated lie, every plan to deceive me. Jennifer's face crumpled. Mom, you what? I asked, my voice steady despite my breaking heart. You decided I was too stubborn to sell my house, so you declare me incompetent. Forge my signature on power of attorney documents. It's not like that. Michael slammed his hand on the table. You're sitting on a gold mine while I'm drowning in debt. Do you know what it's like watching my business fail while you refuse to help? I offered to help, I reminded him. I offered to co-sign a loan. You said you didn't need your mother's charity. Because I need more than scraps, he shouted. The house is worth a fortune. Why should you live here alone when that money could save my company? Could give Jennifer the baby she desperately wants? I'm pregnant, Jennifer whispered. What? Robert's head snapped toward her. I'm pregnant, she repeated. Tears streaming. 8 weeks. I couldn't do this to Mom while carrying her grandchild, but you both insisted. Enough, I said quietly. I want you all to leave. Mom, please, leave. The force of my voice surprised even me. And Michael, those papers in your briefcase, don't bother. I've already spoken to a lawyer. Try to force me into anything, and you'll be speaking to her too. Which brought us here, to Judge Morrison's courtroom. 6 weeks later, Michael and Robert had tried to proceed with their plan anyway, filing for conservatorship, claiming I was mentally unfit. They doctored medical records, paid a psychologist to write a false evaluation without ever meeting me. They'd been so certain of their victory. They hadn't counted on Harold's foresight or Patricia Chen's brilliance. Your Honor, Patricia began. We have evidence that the defendants conspired to defraud Mrs. Hartwell of her home and assets there. Elder abuse, forgery, and false imprisonment in a nursing facility. The security footage played on the courtroom screen, every word damning. Michael's face went ashen as his own voice filled the room. She asked too stubborn to sell. But this is for her own good. Then came the forged documents, the false medical evaluation, the paper trail of their deception. But the moment that changed everything was when Patricia introduced Harold's trust documents. Mr. Hartwell, she said, addressing my son, you claimed your mother has no resources for her care except the house. Yet here is a $2 million trust fund your father established specifically for her protection. Were you aware of this? Michael's lawyer objected, but Judge Morrison overruled him. Leaning forward with interest, I'd know, Michael stammered. And you, Mrs. Jennifer Roberts. Patricia turned to my daughter. You claimed your mother is mentally incompetent, yet she discovered your scheme, consulted with lawyers, gathered evidence, and has been managing complex financial instruments. Does that sound incompetent to you, Jennifer? Was sobbing now, one hand on her swollen belly. Judge Morrison had heard enough. But before he could rule, I stood. Your Honor, may I speak? He nodded. His eyes, those same kind eyes I'd once cleaned gravel from, encouraging me to continue. I'm not here for revenge, I said, my voice carrying through the silent courtroom. I am here because no parent should have to defend their right to live in their own home. No mother should have to prove she is not crazy just because she won't hand over her life as savings to children who see her as an ATM. I turned to face my children. I gave you everything. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every penny I could spare. I don't regret that. It's what mothers do. But somewhere along the way, you decided that my sacrifices were your entitlement. That my love meant you owned me. My voice broke. I would have helped you both. All you had to do was ask honestly. Instead, you plotted to throw me away like garbage. Jennifer stood suddenly. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Robert pushed, and Michael said it was the only way, and I lost myself. I lost who you raised me to be. Sit down, Robert hissed, grabbing her arm. No, she wrenched away. I'm done. Mom, I'm filing for divorce. I can't raise my child with a man who would do this to family. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Judge Morrison's ruling was swift and decisive. The conservatorship petition was denied. Criminal charges for elder abuse and fraud were recommended. A restraining order was granted against Michael and Robert. As we left the courtroom, Michael called out, "This isn't over. The house should be mine." I turned back one last time. No, son, it's Harold's and mine. It was never yours to take. 6 months later, I sat in my garden, Harold's chipped mug filled with tea steaming in my hands. The restraining order against Michael remained in place. He'd chosen anger over reconciliation, hired new lawyers, made threats. Each one only proved how right I'd been to protect myself. But Jennifer had surprised me. She divorced Robert, moved into a small apartment, gotten a job, her first real job in years. She'd attended therapy, sent letters I initially didn't open, respected my boundaries when I said I needed time. Then came the day she gave birth. Her name is Eleanor. She texted me, along with a photo. After the strongest woman I know, I understand if you're not ready to meet her. I'll wait. I lasted exactly 1 hour before driving to the hospital. Now, baby Eleanor slept in my arms, while Jennifer worked in the garden, planting the tomatoes Harold had loved. I'm thinking of going back to school, Jennifer said, wiping dirt from her hands. Nursing, like you wanted to do. It's never too late, I told her. Remembering my own abandoned dreams, Patricia Chen had become more than my lawyer. She'd become a friend. We had lunch weekly, sometimes joined by Judge Morrison, Tommy, as I called him now. He'd shared that watching my case had reminded him why he became a judge, to protect people like the woman who'd shown kindness to a scared kid with a scraped knee. Margaret visited more often now, helping me convert Harold's study into a nursery for when Jennifer needed babysitting. You were right, she admitted one day. It wasn't sacrifice when it was for love. But Ellie, it's okay to love yourself too. The house felt alive again, filled with purpose. I'd started a support group for elderly people facing financial abuse from family members. We met weekly in my living room, sharing stories and resources. Patricia provided free legal consultations. You saved my life, one member, Ruth, told me. My nephew was doing the same thing. I thought I was alone. None of us are alone, I assured her, thinking of Harold's letter, still kept in my bedside drawer. My dearest Ellie, the last paragraph read, *, I know you'll use this gift wisely, not just the money, but the freedom it provides. You gave our children roots.